Hello and welcome to the Leave a Legacy podcast, where we go beneath the skin of some of the UK's most exciting entrepreneurs to see what makes them tick, what the future holds and how they got to where they are today. This podcast is powered by Kurogo, so special thank you to those guys. We hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Leave a Legacy podcast by Legacy Club. I'm joined today by Michaela Wain. Thank you, Michaela. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thanks. Thanks for inviting me, Chris.
Pleasure. I've been dying to get you onto something like this.
I'm excited.
To hear more about the Michaela Wain story, which we all know, we all see a lot on social media and obviously through the Apprentice, which we'll talk about in a bit. But what the point of Leave a Legacy is to go back, early start of your professional career, but even before that, you as a young girl, where you grew up, what inspired you, what motivated you to where you get to today, how you became that person, how you become such an advocate of the things that you are, which again we'll talk about. So who was young Michaela, and where were you brought up, and what was your life like as a young girl?
I was brought up in a shithole in Bolton, basically. Not my house, but the area, somewhere called Breakmate in Bolton. It's like got the largest council estate, I think, in the UK. It's massive. So very humble beginnings. I'm one of 6 children. My parents split up when we was very young. So my mum was a single mum for a while. I still see my dad though, very active in my life, but she was a single mum working 3 jobs. We had free school dinners, free school uniforms. I had 2 older brothers who were really close to me in age, who used to beat me up honestly every single day of my life. Yeah. So I can really take a good hiding, that's for sure. And I was obsessed with football. I wanted to be a footballer. Right. But I had 2 older brothers, so like all the clothes got passed down, so I was constantly dressed like a boy. I actually didn't wear a dress other than like my first Holy Communion. I didn't wear a dress till I was about 19.
19?
Yeah, honestly, like I just really, in my head, I was like, I'm one of the lads. So I think I've always had this boyish nature, which is why I guess it suits me now that I'm in construction. So
you had this tough, sort of, well, not necessarily tough, but you know, quite a hard upbringing in Bolton. Surrounded by men, surrounded by boys, getting into football. So actually, you're a complete polar opposite of what you grew up as, or you think that you are still the same person that was surrounded by all these men, but obviously you are in your business life. But as you went into school, where were you finding you were naturally gravitating towards? Was it still sport, or were you finding your place with any academic?
Yeah, no, I always thought I was really lucky in that. I think I just was naturally quite bright because I made, honestly, beyond 0 effort. If you could make less than 0, that was me. I did not try. I was not interested. Actually, a few of my GCSEs, I was drunk when I turned up to them. I was a real reprobate throughout school, but I passed all my GCSEs. I just was naturally quite clever. But yeah, my main thing, anything sporty, active. I really love science, maths. I was really, really good at maths, and religion. I liked philosophy. I liked having my own ideas. Religion was really easy to pass as well, because it's basically, other than like, oh, what's Hinduism, what's Catholic, blah, 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 the actual facts, the rest of it is all just, what's your opinion on this? So as long as you can waffle, you'll get a degree in religion.
So you've carried the opinion piece with you, haven't you, for the rest of your life then?
Yeah, it's good.
So young Michaela, are there any aspirations or any motivations for you? Like, I want to be this particular person, I want to work in this particular job, or was that entrepreneurial flair always there for you?
Yeah, so there wasn't a specific thing really that I wanted. Well, I did want to be a footballer, but obviously I was a girl, so they wouldn't let me play football. There was no girls team when I was younger. It was a while ago. So my mum went in and went berserk at the head teacher, and I was actually the only girl in the boys team throughout the league. So I was able to play football, but when I got to about 13, there just weren't really any teams or anything for us to do. So that dream died a death. But other than that, I really just always wanted to earn money. I just knew I was going to have money. I don't know, I can't even tell you what it is. It's like, it's a different part of your being. But there is something in my brain from being a child where I was like, I'm going to have my own money. I'm going to have loads of money. I'm going to go on loads of holidays. I'm going to have a really big house, and my children will never have to queue to get a free school dinner ticket or free school uniform. So the upbringing we had, it was full of love. Like my parents were absolutely fabulous parents, and separately, but they was brilliant parents. And my brothers are great at fun, but it was tough, you know. I don't know lots of people who are entrepreneurs now who perhaps went through what we went through.
There's a common link between those tough upbringings, you know, with a lack of money around you. Actually, that is obviously the aspiration to do better and want more for you as you grow up is quite normal. But there's that grit and determination to almost climb out of that hole as you get older to make you want to be successful.
I think if you brought up like we was with challenges, then it's not as daunting when you're an entrepreneur and things happen. You're like, nothing can be, and I'm not saying it was bad, but you're like, nothing can be as bad as that. Yeah. And so when you get through different challenges in childhood, and there was a lot more than what I discussed today, but when you get over certain things in your childhood, then nothing really phases you, and I think you can handle the problems better when you're an entrepreneur. But there was one thing that I really was gifted, I guess, by my parents, but more so my dad. My mum's real strict battle axe, like, get a job, you will do this, you will be successful, like, you're not staying in this house unless you pay me rent, you know, real, like, just full on, just do me nothing. But my dad was really soft and loving, and he was always like, Michaela, you can do anything that you set your mind to. When all throughout school, he wanted me to try hard and do well, and he obviously knew that I was not doing any of the above. But he would always say, like, this is your chance, you can be a politician, you can be a doctor, you can do anything you want to do, just apply yourself and you can be successful. And it's just something I never forgot, and because he instilled that in me, I genuinely believe there is literally anything that I can do. If I really put my mind to anything, I think I could be successful at anything.
There are certain things that stick with you, and I'm the same as you, that you'll have for life, you know, like with your dad, and it's great that it's come from someone so close to you as well, because you'll never forget it, and you'll never take it for granted either and think, well, that was bollocks, you know, because it's your dad and he means it.
Yeah.
So what was the first job that Michaela ever had? And it can be paper round, it can be anything.
Yeah, no, the first proper job I had, my nan got it me, where she used to work at this restaurant, Snuddles Coaching House. I was 12 years old, I was on £2.10 an hour, and I was a buzz girl, so that meant like I used to clean the tables and cut cheese. And I got fired after about 6 months for smoking in the toilet.
And this is my family fired you?
Yeah. My nan was like the manager running the thing, but obviously she couldn't have it. I honestly got fired from every single job that I had until I was 21. And I started my own business when I was 25. So pretty much my whole career ended in firings or suggested leavings.
Suggested leavings. We suggest you leave now. So do you think then that may have been like someone telling you, look, Michaela, you're not cut out to be working for someone. You actually need to be the person running the business. You think that was the catalyst there?
Yeah, I cannot be told what to do. I just from being tiny, I don't know if again it's because my brothers was always trying to tell me, so we was always scrapping, and because my mum was very strict as well, I think I was just really over people telling me what to do, and I really like to live a good and full life as well, Chris. And working is very bland at times. I was working at Matalan, and I had a fight in there. There was more to it than this, but there's been a few other incidences that I got caught having a cushion fight in the storeroom, and they fired me. And a woman there who I've never forgotten, I never will. I actually bumped into her. Our sons ended up going to this same school. She said to me, Michaela, you're a very intelligent girl, and if you applied yourself and this, that and the other, you could be like me in a few years' time, go to university, get a degree, and look at me, I'm on 16 grand a year. And I remember thinking, 16 grand, I want that a month, like. And it was just another one of those conversations that I've never forgotten. I'm like, you are not my inspiration, and nothing against managers of Matalan, but that just is not where my mindset was.
Your mindset wasn't there.
And I think it's just why I couldn't settle anywhere, because I was like, this is not who I'm gonna be. And I just knew, I don't even know, I'm sure there's other people who are like that, but I just knew I was going to do something more than the jobs that I was working at the time. But I was just at college and stuff. So
after the multiple exits, let's call it exits, from these employers, what was the first business then you went on to set up?
The construction magazine, Design and Build UK.
Which is still going now?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I'd been working for somebody else. Basically, I went to uni doing religion because easy pass, and I took a year out. I went living with my dad because, again, easy parents. So I was like, live with my dad, he won't make me do anything. But he actually grew a set and was like, Michaela, you better get a job or else I'm going to kick you out. I was like, what is this? Where's this come from? You just paid for me. So anyway, he took me around town handing my CV out, which obviously was like 2 months here, 1 month there. Like the worst CV in Great Britain, yeah. Oh, we need to make it look like a break. I was travelling. Like all the waffle. And then I got offered 2 jobs. One was at Greg's Pasty Shop.
Yeah.
Do you know Greg's?
Yeah, I do.
Seen the hairnets?
Yes.
Do you think as a 19-year-old girl I wanted to be wearing that hairnet?
Well, you weren't wearing dresses until you were 21, so that might have been all right.
Well, there's in like Bolton town centre, so my dad was like, you should take it. And then this construction magazine, really random, they offered me a job as well. And my dad's like, this sounds like a con. Nobody would give you that much money without experience because of the commission pay structure and that. And my dad's an engineer and he's just like, my dad couldn't have his own business. He's very good at working for somebody else and he wouldn't desire to have his own business, but he's very straight-laced and he was like, he didn't know about sales really. He's like, that can't be true, like nobody your age can earn this money. So anyway, I obviously went against what my dad said and took that job. And I just did really well. It took a while, but I really came into it, did well. Transitioned from that company to another one, and there was a startup. So I thought the reason I wanted to go there is that there's going to be loads of opportunity. Where I was really established, and there was, to become a team leader, it would have took years. To become a sales manager, probably a decade. I was like, no, I'm not about this life. I'm going to move to a startup and get in early doors, see what I can do there. So I moved there when I was like 21ish, maybe 22. And I really helped them grow this business. They was doing like $6,000 a month turnover, and by the time I left, they was doing more like 100 grand. Wow. And I would say, not just me, but a lot of that was because of me, because I brought in different ways to sell, new customers, retaining customers, upselling, helped them to recruit people. And so they was doing really well in the end. And they was offering a sales manager position. So everybody was like, obviously Michaela's going to get this because, I've done everything, I proved myself. And they said to me, and I'm sure you've heard this story before, they said, we want an old man for the position, so you need to not apply. I thought, oh, well, that's ridiculous, and entered Nigel. So I thought I'm going to have to leave basically, which is what led me to then start my own company. And it was just this, I have no fear. I just was brought up with no fear. So I wasn't scared of failing because I just didn't care that much. I just thought if I fail, I'll just work somewhere else.
Yeah, I'd say that you absolutely would have cared about failing because you wanted to be a success. There's a big difference. I wanted to be a success. I wanted to do well. It's not, I would say that you didn't care about failing. You just wanted it to do well. And actually, like you say, if you put your head to something, you're going to do it, right? And win, lose or draw, you're going to really try your hardest. And that's obviously what's happened. So then, that's 25?
Yeah, 25, yeah.
So then, if anybody's seen The Apprentice, which I'm sure they have, we're not talking about one company, are we? We're talking about multiple. So let's talk about how, when did The Apprentice piece come along? When did you get introduced to that? How did they approach you, or did you just apply?
No, I just applied. So I'd applied the year before for a totally different business than when I went on to it. And it was just a business idea, like a tech company. Anyway, it was this business idea, and I thought, I don't really know how to do this myself. And I knew I needed a big whack of investment because it was a tech company. So I'd applied the year before, and I'd got all the way through like all the auditions and interviews and all the rest of it. And they rung to say I'd be a reserve. I know now what happened. Basically, a girl called Jess got on the season before me, and they said that we was too similar. They told me this like after the fact. They said that we was too similar, and she'd applied a few years previous, and got on but fell pregnant. So they really wanted to give her the opportunity to go on. So then the next year I was going to apply again. I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to go for it and see. I was a reserve. Let's just see. And then it's really long, the whole process. It's quite like stressful and, full of anxiety. I had to travel to London all the time.
You're the tube.
Yeah, I hate that. And then people was like, well, actually my partner at the time was like, oh, don't do this again. It was real like negative Nelly about it. Like, it's a waste of time and you'll never get on and this, that and the other. And I was like, who are you talking to? I'm going for it. And then lo and behold, I got on. So I feel like it was fate to get on the year I got on. What
was that experience like then? Obviously it was stressful. So the second time around, you then get the call to say, look, you've made it through and you're going to be in the show. It is a show, it is lights, camera, action, it is, but it's real, it's happening, and you still got relationships with a lot of these people, including the production team and stuff like that, which is fantastic because you don't know what doors they can open. But how was that experience for you, coming from where you had come from and meeting these random people who are all vying for the same thing, which is just one spot ultimately, or two in your particular year?
I know chances too, and I didn't get one of them, Chris. That it's an actual insult. That.
How did you find that whole experience?
Well, in the lead up to The Apprentice, and one of the reasons that I was applying for it is my businesses was already relatively successful at the time of going on. I think we was doing 3.5-4 million turnover a year. I was doing all right. I had a nice life. I was basically semi-retired. I had a son who was 7. We was on holiday the whole time. The house was paid for. We didn't really have any worries. But I wanted to, number one, I think you've always got to keep challenging yourself anyway in business, do something new and different. And number two, I really suffered my whole life with anxiety and panic attacks, and you go through waves and different spells of how extreme these would be. And I just, I'd been fine for the 7 years that my son was alive. I just like little spells here and there, but I could feel it coming back. I know now it was the environment that I was in, like my home environment, and the lack of structure perhaps in my life. Even though I was running these businesses, I weren't actively involved enough. So I think I was getting really quite bored and I had too much time on my hands. Anyway, so I felt these waves of panic coming back, and I thought I should do this because I know that it will help me get over it, basically. Like putting yourself in a situation with all people who you don't know, none of my friends or family, I can't speak to anybody, and potentially getting fired in public. Why not? I'll be cured. And I've never had a panic attack since The Apprentice. So it did genuinely. Well, actually, I tell a lie once, but it's because I had too much caffeine. I had paracetamol with caffeine and I didn't know. so I blame the caffeine, but that's the only one. It's been 5 years, so it worked a treat. I think I've created something now that I've got in my armour to fall back on and be like, oh, well, Lord Sugar fired me in front of 9 million people. It's not that bad.
But you were one of the more successful people, already successful people, going on to The Apprentice that there's ever been. You were running a multiple £1 million business at the time of going on, so people might be scratching their head going, why does she need to be on here?
Yeah, but it is. It's putting yourself out of your comfort zone. And like I say, for me, it was a real challenge. And people who know me, when they was watching it, they knew I wasn't myself. In the first few episodes, I maybe spoke 5 times, but that's all I spoke. And every time I did speak, because I made it so far to the end, they have to like character build. So they just put in the 1 or 2 lines that I ever said, like, because I was so nervous and anxious the whole time. But I think that kind of won Lord Sugar over a little bit. I think he liked the fact that I was performing when we was at task and I was doing everything that I needed to do, but I weren't in the boardroom like shouting my mouth off saying how brilliant I was. So I think he kind of liked it.
So you got to the final with Sarah, who's a good friend of mine who we met through.
A very deserved winner. We love Sarah.
She went on to jointly win with James, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah. And then it's almost like that big brother experience, isn't it? You step out and then what happens now? You then get a media team around you, PR company around you, we're going to support you with this, and this, or is it like on your own? No,
I think it is different now, but yeah, you was on your own to an extent. They would touch base with you, shall we say, and they catch up, and they perhaps say, like, if I was arguing with people on Twitter, which is honestly my favourite pastime.
I was going to say, I bet you like that.
I'm just always giving it, honestly. If somebody says something, I think, I'm not going to reply to you, I will absolutely call you out on your bullshit. And I start scrolling through all the feed, like, yeah, I know about you too, dickhead, what are you saying? so then, anyway, excuse my French, sometimes they get in touch with me and be like, Michaela, you can't talk like that on social media. But you don't on me, I'll do it anyway. so I might have been a bit of a liability for them, but I think they're much better now. Obviously there's been so much since our series in the media about the way that people and looking after people. So, but I mean, I was fine. I didn't need looking after, to be honest. If they would have sent a full team round to me, so I would have sent them away, because there was no problems. I absolutely loved the whole journey, everything, the stress of it, the anticipation, the anxiety, the brilliant times. sometimes the really random life-changing moment you have for just a split second it is in your life, really. And all of the people that I met, and I got investment in the end as well, so it couldn't have been, and I had a son, so it literally couldn't have been any more successful than it was.
Great.
Yes, met Harrison.
He was doing Equals Health at the time.
Yeah, so that was his business plan. He went on with Equals Health, but he got the investment as well. I think there was actually only the two of us who didn't win who got the investment after the show. So
the investment opportunity you got after was obviously because of the show. You were approached and they said, look, we love what you're doing. Which business are we going to invest in? Because how many did you have at the time?
So let me just clear something up.
Clarify.
I don't have all of those businesses. I am an entrepreneur, and so there's been times when I've invested in people, and so I'll just invest, but just like Lord Sugar does, but I'm not going to get involved in anything. Generally, just like the structure of the business, helping to market the business because that's my own speciality, and just running the business day to day, like, oh, this is what you need to do. That's when you get your big hire. So like a business advisor who will invest in it. But sometimes I've chosen the wrong people to invest in, and shit happens. Not every business is successful. Yeah. So a lot of those businesses just aren't going anymore. And it was more like I've invested in other people. But then there was, I do have a few.
But that was one of the best bits for me with that particular series. It was just because everybody you spoke to in those one-to-ones, you faced them down, you accepted what they said, or you challenged them, which they weren't used to being challenged. And that, I think that was one of the things that sat with me the most, and I remember so fondly about that particular series. And I think you carried yourself fantastically.
I think, do you know what? Throughout everything else, I was nervous. Like there was one task, picking up dog poo. I'm like, of course I'm not going to excel at this because I literally have somebody at home. At the time I had somebody who lived in my house and he had 3 dogs and they would do like all of the house cleaning and sort out all of the dog mess. I'm like, I literally pay somebody to do this at home. I'm not coming in the Apprentice and going picking up people's dog poo. Sorry, no. I draw the line at this point. So there's things where I weren't successful in these tasks, certain elements of tasks that I wouldn't be successful either. I'm like terrible at accounts. So I would never excel in an apprentice task with that. But when it came to the business, I knew my business inside out and I knew how capable I was. I knew there was absolutely nothing that they could say in that business plan, and there wasn't, where anybody can pull it apart, say it was unrealistic, it was too much, it was detailed like to the finest of detail and had everything in there, real structured, strong business plan that in the real world got investment and would always get investment again as well. So when they were saying things to me, I'm just like, you're clutching. You are clutching here because this business plan should be winning. So I just couldn't, I weren't offended. Like Linda, who, by the way, I've spoke to since, she's a super woman, you know, obviously she has a part to play in The Apprentice as well. I respect her, she's done amazing stuff. She's in fashion, I'm in construction. And for Linda to sit there and tell me that I will not be successful because she will go to my competitor, having never used it, having not know the construction industry or any of these issues, I was like, this is ridiculous.
It's pantomime.
I'm going to have to tell you. So it did not faze me. And I think when you're already relatively successful in life, then there's a confidence that comes with that. Your confidence grows throughout your business career. When you first start off, you're a bit nervous. What do people think of me? Will people respect me? Oh, well, that's their job title. And, you know, you have all of these little niggling things go on. But as soon as you start, whatever the money is that you want to achieve, as soon as you get to that point and you're happy and comfortable and confident in your life, I think your confidence grows and grows and grows. And it's difficult for anybody to say anything to me now that would bother me about business, to be honest.
So if you talk about the confidence that you had, so going into the show, you'd have been really, really confident in your abilities and obviously as an entrepreneur because you had successful businesses anyway. But when you came out of it, given that there would have been a lot of media around it and obviously there's 9 million people potentially watching this and now know who you are, not winning it, did that knock your confidence at all? Or were you like, well, that's fine, that was great, it was a great experience, on to the next thing?
I was glad because I didn't want to give away 50% of a business, to be honest.
Right. So, is that what it is?
50%, it's 250 grand. And the investment I got was a lot larger than that because it needed more money.
For less, I'm guessing.
For less, yeah. So no, it didn't bother me. To be honest, before I went in, I remember saying to my mum, my brother had been on Love Island, which is another reason why I applied because he had an absolute scream. And so obviously,
you didn't fancy Love Island?
Harrison doesn't want to see me in a bikini, let alone the nation. I'm like, absolutely not. So no, I was like, I'll go for the Apprentice. And I remember saying to my mum, oh mum, imagine if I get on telly for a week. And for me, I just approached the whole thing just with life. I do this anyway. It's just all an experience. It was definitely different for me in there than I think everybody else, because everybody really wanted it, and that's great. And there was an element of me that did want it, because who doesn't want to be successful? But for me, it weren't going to change my life.
Yeah.
I knew, like, I'm going to go and start this business anyway. I knew that my bills were already being paid at home. I was set up, like, it wasn't going to have a detrimental effect on me by not winning.
Yeah.
Whereas, so because I didn't have the same pressure as everybody else, I just had a really good time. And I think in the end, that's why people ended up liking watching what I was seeing, because I was doing what I needed to do, but at the same time, I was also just having a scream at the time.
You can see that when you watch it back, and I advise anyone to go and watch that series because it was hilarious. But you can see that you enjoyed every minute, and it was never going to faze you anyway coming out of there, because you were one of the strong characters, and I think that goes for all the series, that you are one of the more memorable people that have been on. But it is real life. It is you're a person. You know, it's not pantomiming the fact that you go in and pretend to be someone. A lot of people do, but you were yourself, which is great, and it's commendable that you've been so successful since then. So what happened after The Apprentice? What's happened for you and for business since then?
To be honest, my businesses took a real hit. It was a killer for me, The Apprentice.
Really?
And the reason was we just had an influx of interest. And I want to say 90% of it was just people wanting to know if it took me 20 minutes to get ready in the morning. And I'm like, I'm doing like these meetings with people and like traveling the country and doing, you know, all of this stuff. And then I'd get there, and it wasn't a meeting at all about any of our services. It was because they wanted to meet somebody who'd been on The Apprentice. So it was really difficult to cut through the shit and figure out where business was. And in addition to that, I'd left the businesses for, I think, 10 or 11 weeks. I was in there with no communications other than one 5-minute call I had with one of my business partners. And there was like 8 members of staff left when I'd gone. So then the sales figures have gone down as well. So then we was trying to rebuild it. So it was actually really challenging when I come out, and you have a very strange period after recording it to it being heard. There's like 3 months where you've just lived this mad experience, but nobody knows. Right. And so then you're just all like trapped in your own bubble. So
you can't say anything. Right.
You can't, well, I mean, honestly, I told absolutely everybody. I was like, basically, I may as well have wrote it in the Bolton Evening News. Everybody on that, I'm like, yeah, I come third on Apprentice. Make sure you watch it on sofa. NDA straight out the window. Me and Harrison were just liabilities telling everyone, because I was so excited. So yeah, that was a really weird period, but it gave us time to work on the new business. It took probably 12 to 18 months for all of that to calm down and get back to normal. But what it did do is shine that light on the businesses, and it wasn't the people really was getting in touch straight away. It's more now we're seeing the rewards. Really, it took 2 years, maybe 3, that people actually started coming to us and being like, oh, that is a serious business. Because even though they've heard about you, they want to then see what you do for a few years to then really trust you before they then come and use your services. Right?
You also need credibility where somebody has been on TV in a show, which is a reality show. There's an assumption these people aren't as smart as you think they are.
Yeah.
It's the same with some of our members that have come out of professional sport, like Laurie, for example, into finance. It's building that credibility up again, which you did before the show. As a female leading a business, you've had to find your own credibility, and that maybe leads on to your champion of females in construction. Where's that come from, and you know, what are you going to do with it going forward?
Yeah, so I had lots of people, like over 10,000 people, reach out to me during and after The Apprentice, talking about like, thanks for representing women in construction. How did you deal with this issue in construction? Can you help me with this, that, and the other? And then really extreme things as well that was taking place. And I got offered the opportunity, I'm going to say opportunity, but I don't know if that is it, to go on Big Brother. And I was like, oh, it was quite a decent whack of money, to be fair, but I was like, they give you alcohol on that show. I could be a liability when I've had a drink, so I could potentially ruin my career here by going on Big Brother, or I can keep the professional platform, which had then really started to generate and go on and help more women in my industry. I'd always had a passion for helping young girls. When I was studying religion, I was doing religion and special needs, and I wanted to be a counsellor, school teacher / counsellor, because a teacher had helped me out when I was younger, so you know, like you have the inspiration of that. And so I've always had this passion to try and help girls and women who had perhaps come from similar backgrounds to me and experienced similar things. So it just fit nicely. It was a passion, and then something that I actually knew about as well. That's in construction. So we set about championing more women in construction. I became an ambassador with the National Federation of Builders, and then more recently, now this year, we're doing the first UK Women in Construction Awards. And all money is going to the Maggie Oliver Foundation, which is a great charity helping young girls who suffer from sexual abuse. So we're making big moves and doing all that we can to create a better noise around the importance of having fair and equal working environments, especially in such a male-dominated industry.
Are you finding pushback on this from the males in this, or even the females in this industry, to say, well, okay, why are you doing this?
Yeah, do you know what? I would say there is a strong number of women who, initially, I don't get it as much now, but who was like, we don't need this, because, you know, they want it to be accepted as equal, which is fair enough. But I think we have a duty of, when you're a business owner or somebody who's making decisions, to help future generations coming through. That's our responsibility. So if you don't like to talk about it, that's fine. But I really did want to go on and inspire. And I get lots of pushback from men. You know, I mean, Chris, there's some funny things that I said. Don't get me wrong. Some things really crap me up. I'm like, that's a good one, mate. But then there's other ones that are really like deeply offensive. Like, I've had death threats to my children. Yeah. People saying they're going to rape me because I clearly need a good shagging. like that's my honest about women in construction, because I've not been drilled. Like, what the fuck is that?
Where's this coming from? What's wrong with people?
Do you know what? You can only think you are ill. Like, you are obviously a sick individual to be this way. So you can't even let it offend you. But I would say the overwhelming majority, like 95% of people, either support this or passively support it. They may not be actively involved, but there's so many large organisations, tier one contractors, government. We've got members of parliament coming along to our event. There's so many people who are wanting to get involved in this and support it, and really proactively support what we're doing as well. So I focus on that and not the death threats.
Thankfully. How do you manage your time though? Because someone like you that's had the spotlight and obviously has a profile, and you've got your own businesses to run, which are the roof overhead, food on table positions, but the stuff that you do with women in construction, which is incredible and so valuable and needed, how do you manage all of that and then continue to grow your businesses as well, and look after your family as well?
Well, I think there's real positive side effects to doing what I do anyway, because everybody's spreading the word about the Women in Construction Awards, and therefore people then looking to us. So that helps our businesses to grow organically as well. And we've created a real strong network of women and men in construction who believe in supporting ED&I, who are always happy to pass work about as well. So it's actually, I think if you do anything where you lead with passion and purpose, it's only going to have positive implications on what you currently do as well, because you create a community of like-minded people, and you want to help people who help you and who are similar to you. So it's only been positive in that way. But do you know what? Like, I manage my time really, really well. It's just probably the most common question that I hear business owners being asked, and people have all different responses. They get up really early. I don't get up early. I get up at 7 and I go to bed at 11 or 12. I need like 7 or 8 hours, or else I will kill somebody. It's just like factually correct. But I have like my time is, there's certain time when I do things at certain times. So between 7 and 9, I'm on my own the majority of the week. So I sort the kids out and I'll go to the gym, I'll go for a run or whatever in the morning time. Do my work just like normal throughout the day. And then the evening time, like no phones, no emails, no working from 5 till 7ish, 6:30 when the little one goes to bed. And then the big one goes on the Xbox or whatever he does on Snapchat and all that. and then I'll do like more work in the afternoon. But I don't do work like, everyone's like, you have to work in the evenings, but I want to do it. Yeah. Like I want to, and that's when I'll do more stuff around women in construction or any like charity work that we're doing. I'll do that in the evenings because I want to do it. So I'd rather do that than watch a series on Netflix and send me brain dead. So I try and do like when I'm traveling down to London all the time, I'll always listen to audio books or podcasts about business or I'm constantly trying to train my brain to be better and do better things. But it's just I think it's just a normal life. I don't feel like overwhelmed, I'm juggling too much. I think it's just fine.
And then you put podcasts and E&L in as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then, but I do those bits of maybe like dinner times and, my work, I don't have to be dedicated 9 till 5, Monday to Friday, constantly doing my day job, thankfully, because a lot of it's like growing the business. So I can just set up a couple of important meetings throughout the week and actually earn a lot of money. We have high ticket businesses as well. We fit gas, water and electric mains into sites. We can have a project that's £1 million.
Yeah.
Or even the marketing stuff, like our average client spend would be 30 to 40 grand a year. So you can just do a couple of meetings a month and you buzz in.
Well, I think you're super inspirational to both men and women in business, so congratulations.
Thanks, Chris.
We're going to finish it with the reason we do this, which is leave a legacy. So what would be the legacy that Michaela would like to leave?
Equality, specifically in construction, but broader as well, like actual equality for a man. I don't think that I will see it in my lifetime, but I hope that I'll help for the next generation to see it. And there's where you look at a man and you look at a woman and there is no judgment on he is stronger, she is better at cooking, and we can try and break down these gender stereotypes and really look at people with potential equal abilities.
Love that. Thank you very much, Michaela Wain. Thank you.